Hi Jason, hope all is well. This is your second update. The apartment is a lot more finished now, and we just wanted to kind of walk you through and give you a status update of where we are. So first thing is, I'm in your living room right now. Ricky, you want to just quickly pan this room so you can get a quick idea of where the construction is at. So first thing I wanted to start off in this room is let's talk lighting. Basically, just to kind of give you a general concept of how Lutron lighting works in conjunction with the shades and tracks. Basically, you have your smart switches, which are defined by single switches that are smart. Essentially, this switch is a single light control. We put a smart switch, we're able to control that light. Then we have the next level, which is the multi-button switches. Lutron switches come in a 6-button format, so the most buttons you can get is a 6 essentially in one switch. Bennett, depending on how we do the electrical plan and how you want to set everything up, I would suggest, so here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we could have maybe 7 or 8 lights that we're trying to control. So depending on how we set it up in groups, essentially the scenes and the individual controls, I would suggest maybe 1 or 2 multi-button switches. Keep in mind that the multi-button switches, you can have one switch that turns 2 or 3 lights on. The second switch can manage the shades. You can have individual light call out, so you can kind of group them in, from an individual or group standpoint. So once we kind of brainstorm the final electrical layout, just keep that mentality in your mind of how you want to do the multi-button switches in each room. But for the living room, I would suggest doing 2 switches. The only reason is because, again, one switch has about 6 controls. So again, not in a group situation with single buttons. So since we have more than 6 situations here, I would just do 2 switches so we count for all those situations. Another thing is you have Daikin HVAC systems. This is a wireless based thermostat. This thermostat system, Daikin system, also has Ethernet to the brain. We're not sure about that, as far as what system they were using, so we did not run Ethernet. But I'm pretty sure that we can tap off Wi-Fi and get your thermostats on the Daikin app with smart control. So again, these are not NES compatible or anything like that, but they should have the smart capability. Worst case, we will reach out to the HVAC people and find where that brain is, and if we can run Ethernet to it, we may do it that way also. But I just wanted to kind of show you how your thermostats look, and they should be smart compatible. So now just generally looking at this room, I just want to quickly first point out the low voltage situation. So basically you have a sub connection here, Ethernet, sub connection here, Ethernet. You have a sub connection there, and then also Ethernet, and then you have another 2 Ethernet connections here. Basically the coax wire is where the sub connections are, so you have 3 options for the sub. This is the rel sub that you bought, so either left, right, in the front, or on the side here. So you can kind of figure out how you want to place the sub, but just so you have a general understanding, it's going to be one of these 3 spots it's going to sit. Then one thing we should discuss as far as your TV, you're getting the 65-inch Samsung TV here. We're going to have the 3-channel Paradigm speaker. We have to discuss, Bennett, this is a point maybe you could take, but how high the furniture is going to be. Bottom line is Jason, if you want us to go with the low profile look, which is the TV flat to the wall as close as possible, in that situation, we mount the TV flat. The soundbar actually gets mounted to the wall, not the TV itself. So you get the closest look all the way to the back of the wall. If your furniture is low, we do recommend going with a tilt bracket. In that situation, you'll have like a slight angle. Again, it's an adjustable angle, but your head's not going to be like this when you're sitting on the couch watching TV. In that scenario also, we typically don't mount the soundbar to the wall. We do something called the floating bracket, where it actually hangs off the TV on the bottom. But either scenario will work. The most important situation is we need to confirm the furniture height, because that should really dictate what this is. So again, this will be a nice 65, your 3-channel speaker. I made one executive decision as an audiophile. I decided to go with a 9.1. I don't know if you remember, we had a 7.1 initially set up here, and we did not have a drop in the ceiling. As the construction progressed, you guys made a decision to drop the ceiling. So Ricky, if you want to just show the ceiling, basically what we did is we had 3 speakers here in a row. Basically that's giving you 3 on your sound bar, 2, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. As far as the speaker fitment, Jason, this apartment has been quite a big challenge. So basically, if you look at the ceiling, that drop is our depth. So as you can see, we're dealing with 2 inches, 3 inches at best. Unfortunately, Paradigm does not make speakers that can fit this situation. So one of the good speakers that I typically use in the shallow depth situation is the KEF speakers. So I did ceiling KEF speakers, as you can see here. It's basically a single woofer and a tweeter, same speaker exact here. And then that same speaker comes in a square format also. So you can see over here in the back we got the square format right here. Keep in mind we had fitment issues even in here. As you can see, this speaker is actually upside down. The reason is that we have that pipe going in there for the sprinkler system. So the magnet was hitting when it was in its proper orientation. It should not affect your sound quality in any way, but once we put the grill up, you're not going to really notice anything. And then again, you have the other side speaker. And if you look just here, I just left the grill so you can kind of get an idea of what they look like with the grills. And again, this is a simple 9.1 setup in this room. Now, I was also thinking that we should change one thing in this room. So if you look at this room from a function standpoint, you walk in here, you have your Harmony. You can basically watch Apple TV, watch cable TV, whatever your sources are, your activities, that's your TV control. In that situation, you're running a 9.1 audio scenario. Now let's say you walk in there, you want to sit there and say, okay, I want to play my Sonos song. So in that scenario, I have 2 options that I could deliver. Number 1, we have the Onkyo amp. So initially we staged in for a Yamaha amp, but again, I was assuming we're going to do heavy duty Paradigm speakers that can handle wattage. There's no point to use a Yamaha amp on such shallow depth speakers. We don't need 200 watts per channel. So we switched over to an Onkyo amp. I believe it's the 7100. I'll do a separate video takeoff that will kind of deep dive into the materials so you have an understanding of what materials I've chosen. But basically the Onkyo amp has a Sonos RCA control. So when you have a Sonos port, it sends an RCA signal. The amp will automatically change to that input because it's sensing RCA audio input. And basically now, you could have the game going on your TV, and then all of a sudden these 9.1 speaker system will switch to that Sonos source, and now you're listening to music with separate video audio going on. Now, some people don't like that because they want both audio for the video control and then obviously separate smart audio control. So another option we could do, it may be a little bit simpler, but there's something called a speaker level input. So imagine I have 2 sources and 1 speaker. So there's a device that basically is it's an input switcher, A/B switcher, and it goes from 1 speaker. So when source A is playing, it will always play to the speaker no matter what. And when source A is dead, it will always revert to source B. So if you think of it in that scenario, what I could do is I could take these 2 speakers right here, and then those 2 speakers in the rears, and basically put a speaker level input manager on this. So when you decide to play Sonos, basically input A, these 2 will essentially kick on. Your Sonos audio goes on, coming out of this and this, which should cover the room as a whole. And then and keep in mind, if you're watching TV or whatever, the sub, these 2 bills, and your 3 fronts are still managing complete video audio. So this way you kind of have best of both worlds. We're definitely going to add a Sonos port to the Onkyo. So if you want to blast this entire zone in Sonos mode, you definitely have that option. But I just wanted to kind of explain it from a behavioral standpoint so you understand how we're trying to design this room. Overall, it should be a pretty clean setup. Everything is nice and clean as far as speaker fitments. I think this is the best speaker to use. Again, once we tune in and you kind of hear it live and see the sound for yourself, and you can kind of make that final distinction. All right. So sub location, TV soundbar. Just making sure. One last thing to mention basically here is we decided to cancel the shades in this room. So I will be sending you a revised shades proposal. Please just disregard the old invoice as that whole map will change. But basically all the shades have been deleted from this room and we're gonna go with Lutron motorized drapes. Basically the Lutron reps are coming to measure this. We're gonna conduct our own measurements and hopefully by the end of this week, early next week, I should have a plan on ordering the track materials for Lutron. As far as the shades are concerned for the rest of the house, that's all been ordered and measurements have been finalized, so we're pretty much good to go on that front. All right, so this is pretty much your living room area, and let's now walk over to the kitchen. All right, so now we're in your kitchen. As you can see, basically here we were able to put the Paradigm speakers. So if you look in the ceiling, I have one Paradigm speaker here. This one is covered. I have a access point flushed in here, and then pretty much kitchen layout's pretty straightforward and simple. We're gonna get rid of the shade wire because we have no motorized shades in the kitchen, so nothing really there. One thing, Bennett, if you could take a note on this, these guys put outlet and switch counter lights. This is a no-no for Lutron. Because we're going to be controlling all the lights, we can't have this type. Lutron doesn't make a smart switch that's this small with an outlet built into it. So we need to basically figure out our counter lights in conjunction with Radio Rod to make sure that the fitment is correct. But I just wanted to call this out for you, Bennett, especially because they're tiling here and the cabinets are up, so I just want to make sure we address this. All right. From a control standpoint, basically, again, here we only have 3 switches here. I'm not sure how we're dividing up the counter lights and the lights in these cabinets and stuff, but again, you can go with either 1 or 2 multi-button switches here, and that should consolidate this into a smaller form factor. All right. Now we move into your foyer. So again, you have the foyer speaker here, 1 speaker right there. Again, these are Paradigm speakers, fit in no problems, so everything is good to go here. This is your intercom system for the building. We're gonna put your iPad most likely on this side of the wall because it most likely won't fit between these two. And then I would also suggest putting a multi-button switch here. This is your main entrance essentially. You can, have your master on, off, etc. scenarios all managed through here. All right. One other thing to mention, the doorbell. I'm sure these guys are gonna put standard doorbells in. They have not wired any doorbells, so I'm assuming they're gonna do wireless doorbells. We did run a wire here for a low voltage, so if you want a ring doorbell, let me know so you have kind of a video feed when somebody's outside your door. But let me know either way and I can adjust that accordingly. All right, so basically this is your foyer layout, pretty much straightforward here. Then let's shift our focus to your closet. Unfortunately, these guys put a shelf in this closet. So Bennett, if you could take a note, we need to rip this shelf out. This has to come out because basically we're gonna wall mount our stuff as planned. Just so you kind of get an idea, our goal is, so these are your 2 wiring that's coming from the inside of the house. We're gonna make some holes here, route this out as we need, and the goal is to mount all the equipment in this U-type format, consolidate this wiring up top, and really stay above this line. So this way you can use this closet for your coat function or whatever else you need it for. All right. One other thing to discuss with the closet. From what I've been told, your closing is happening end of this month or close to it. Basically, once you take possession of the apartment, the first thing we should do is call Fios and get Verizon Fios installed. I can manage that process, or if you have somebody on your side, if you could connect me with them, I'll get that process rolling. And then if Fios is not available in this building, the only other option is Spectrum. This closet is wired for both fiber and a coax, so I'm praying that fiber should be in this building as far as the main source. So let's plan to get the ISP set up as soon as possible. Verizon has like a 2 to 3 week waiting period, especially in Manhattan. So I just want to time that with your closing. So as soon as that happens, I can get internet going here because that's step 1 for me. And then pretty much, you know, once we kind of figure out the construction plan after closing, based off that, I'll kind of make the call of when I'll start bringing equipment here. Right now, too many people have access to this. Once the building people are kind of out of this area, and you know, we have our own internal construction plan as far as, you know, closing forward, then I'll make the decision on when to start. Actually, you know, we'll start the closet right away, get the network going, you know, all the in-wall speakers, type audio equipment going. But the TVs we're going to hold off till the final end. Once construction is, you know, properly done and there's no more, you know, dust type scenarios, then I'll get the TVs done. Okay. Then let's talk bathrooms. So basically, if you look at the bathrooms, I did this bathroom with speakers. I know initially we did not have it on the plan. The reason why I did it is because this bathroom has a tub. So just in case if, you know, you guys are in the tub and you want some light audio, I didn't go crazy on the speakers. These speakers are pretty cool actually. They're like super tiny 2-inch Kefs. Again, we just did a small stereo pair. Again, this is not to like blast the music, just to give you light ambiance of sound when you're in the tub basically using it. If you do decide to change your mind on the powder room, we could easily add a speaker there. Again, it's very close to the closet, but according to the plans, we did not do that. So we stuck to the plans on that. All right, so now let's roll into your guest bedroom. So again, on your guest bedroom, you have 5 switches here. So I would do a single button keypad. Again, if you want to get fancy, in addition with the shades or anything else, you can do 2 keypads. I think 1 keypad should be good enough for the study in this room. So let's just walk into the room here. Again, I'm going to call out my low voltage connection points. I got coax Ethernet, I got Ethernet here, and I got Ethernet, 2 Ethernets over here. So pretty much this room is set up. Obviously you have your motorized shade, which will be going here. In this room, this wall was super skinny. So here I decided to go with an Origin acoustic speaker. This is basically a shallow depth speaker with 4 woofers and a tweeter built in the middle. This is a good speaker as far as a shallow depth scenario. I wanted to go a little bit higher power handling on the other rooms because the cap speakers can handle slightly more power. But again, these are really good speakers also, and I kind of stuck with this format over here. And again, no paradigm speaker would fit here due to we're less than 2 inches of depth over here. Okay. All right. Now let's walk into your study. Basically, you have an access point here. I have the same 5-switch scenario here. So again, I would suggest the single multi-button. If you want to do 2, no problem. Then I'm going to call out the low voltage. So basically, we were told that your desk is going to be facing this way. So you are basically looking this way. You're going to turn this way. The TV is essentially going to be here. So we did another jump point, so we can wire your desk either from this way here, or that way, or if you go towards this wall, we can do it this wall. So pretty much the low voltage points are all around this room. Again, we'll do a 55-inch TV here, no sound bar, nothing. It's going to be reversed into these speakers. In this wall, I had a slight more depth, but again, it was only 2 1/4 inches, I believe. These are Origin acoustic speakers. However, I did find some Rebel speakers, which are a little bit higher end than this, that can fit in this cavity. So I have ordered them. As soon as I receive them, I'm going to swap them out. But again, this is a good speaker also. It's a 6 3/4 woofer with a tweeter right there. And the Rebel speakers are the same rectangular in size, so they should be a swap as far as the cutout is concerned. Now your TV over here, we should also just discuss your desk height. Again, if you want to do a flat bracket or a tilt bracket, either one works, just let us know. I don't know what your hardware on your desk is. Again, if you have any all-in-one printer scanner scenario, if you have a desktop setup with monitors or a laptop with a monitor docking station, just let me know whatever your IT hardware is. And if you need me to run any type of converter stuff to the desk or clean that up, we can definitely design that for you, no problem. And also, one other thing, you have your shade here, and we have no sub for this room. I would suggest just getting Sonos subs. They're Wi-Fi. We have Ethernet ports. We can also run them off Ethernet. But basically, both your rooms that have TVs and 2 speakers, I'm running a Sonos amp. So the way we do it is we take a Sonos amp and we do ARC audio return, HDMI audio return to the amp. The amp essentially siphons the audio. You get TV audio out this, and then obviously it's a Sonos amp, so it's on your Sonos app as Study, and you can stream to it music-wise. So that's our setup here. Sonos amps can be basically paired with a Sonos sub, so you get that 2.1 experience. Right now you're basically missing the low pass aspect of audio in this room. So again, if you want to add a Sonos sub, that's something to think about. All right. Let's go to the primary bedroom. So, based off this layout, I think 5 keypads should work in the bedroom area. Again, Bennett did send me a diagram. They had a meeting with you guys on how you want the switch behavior to be. But I just want to kind of just say what my mental thoughts are. So again, I think you should go with a 5 multi-button switch scenario. Basically, you have 4 buttons here. You can consolidate this to 1 multi-button switch. Then I would suggest putting another multi-button switch here. Again, this would consolidate this into 1, and at the same time, any 4 of those controls can be piggybacked here. Then over here, again, you have 4 switches here, so you can consolidate this into 1 multi-button. So you're at 3 multi-buttons, 1, 2, 3. And then going forward, you're gonna have the 4 and 5 multi-buttons next to your bedsides. So basically, as you guys go to sleep, you can hit all on, all off, etc. You have full home control from both sides of the bed. So I think a 5 multi-button switch for the bedroom would probably be best. Again, Bennett, if you want to change that around, no problem, just let me know. But this layout should be good. Then let's move on to your TV. Again, this is going to be a flat TV mount. I would suggest going with a slight tilt. Again, I need to know how high your bed is. If your bed is super high, we can definitely go flat. If your bed is low, then I would suggest doing a tilt bracket here. We have your access point mounted up there. Again, we got a KEF speaker here. Same issue with the depth and the sprinkler pipe. So I got a KEF speaker here. And same setup where I have a Sonos amp running these 2 speakers. Again, if you want a small Sonos sub, Sonos did come out with a smaller subwoofer. So if you don't want the bigger rectangle one, you can get the small one. Again, I don't know if you want sub audio in the bedroom. The only reason I'm suggesting the sub audio to you is because we're using such small speakers. Again, the biggest lack of the small speaker is the low bass. You can't handle the low audio frequency, so adding a subwoofer will definitely help fill that complete sound in the room. Just to call out your low voltage, you got Ethernet and coax. You got Ethernet and coax. Again, 2 Ethernets here, 2 Ethernets there, and 2 Ethernets there. Bennett, let me know the exact furniture setup for the bed, because right now these guys have these 2 spaced. I don't think they're correct as far as this one is slightly higher than this one, so this has to get fixed. But either way, once we know the exact furniture, I think we need to also relocate this receptacle somewhere here. So let me know the furniture, and then we'll figure out the spacing, and these things need to get adjusted. Then you'll have your 2 shades, which are as planned, basically right here. And the only other thing I would suggest is, Bennett, you can add this to the electrical plan, but anything by the bedside or counter or stuff like that, I would do USB outlets. So basically you have power and USB available. So like, for example, here, we're missing an outlet here. There should be one on this side of the bed. Here you can see they put USB outlets here. But again, there's the ones by the bedside are the ones that should have the USB outlet style. So I would basically get this outlet, pretty much by the bedside, and we're also missing one outlet here. There should be one outlet here. So that's pretty much this room. And then also, I just want to show you the speaker here for your master. And again, this is a single stereo speaker. Again, Paradigm, there are no fitment issues here. So pretty much everything is set up here. So this is the current state of the project. I'll send you basically the revised SOW for the shades. As far as the new track setup, let's just do those completely separate on the third SOW so it doesn't confuse things. And I will also update your original AV SOW with the changes we made and whatever comments I get back from you. Just consider your first payment as essentially the deposit, and then I'll basically redo the invoice based off the changes we had, and then we can tally that math up at the end. There's no issues there. And that's pretty much it. So next steps for me, once you guys get possession, then I'll coordinate with Bennett and kind of start that closet, get the internet rolling. And then as your construction progresses, pretty much, I'll be in there putting whatever I can as, I'm allowed to do so. Right now, from a material standpoint, I have pretty much everything. All your AV stuff is in, all your shades are ordered. The shades should be here in about 2.5, 3 weeks. We ordered them last week. And then the only other thing I have to order is your Lutron tracks once the measurement work is done. And pretty much we're good to go from that standpoint on materials. All right. One thing we will do before we fully cut out of this video is we're gonna cut to my shop. I just want to shoot a quick video to show you all the materials, the amps, the remotes and stuff, and just talk a little bit about that. So we'll cut to my shop now. Thank you.
Hey Jason, how are you? This is the follow-up video from my office. I just wanted to quickly go through the materials so you just have a general basic overview. I just have a temporary rack set up here for another client, but some of the materials that we're using are similar to yours, so I just wanted to kind of use it as for a demo purpose. So first thing is I want to go through the network. Basically, we're going to be using a Unified Dream Machine Pro. Right now, this top device right here is a Unified Dream Machine. Basically, there's a little LCD, hard drive bay, 8 ports to configure, and I got fiber for my WAN connectivity and then Ethernet for my WAN connectivity. So basically, the Dream Machine is a router, switch, all-in-one. And also it has the controller built into it, so we don't necessarily need a unified cloud key. And then this essentially becomes the boss of the network, links to your cloud, and lets us manage all your access points. Just so you know, Sonos and Unify have this multicast issue where when you put Sonos devices on Unify switches, they kind of act up and cause wonky issues. So from a switching standpoint, basically we're going to have a 48 port Unify switch. Again, this is fiber connected, and this is going to be basically running the network. And then I typically, as you can see here in this customer's rack, I'm using a Netgear, which I'm separating for all the audio devices, and then regular, network-based devices I'm putting on the Unify. So in your situation, I'm going to be using a Luxo switch. Again, this is just a 16 port gigabit switch, and we take all our audio smart devices and consolidate them on here, and pretty much you'll have 2 switches running. From a network standpoint, access points, basically we installed the HD APs right there. That's a typical smoke detector, and you can see how big they are in size. I put 3 of these in your house, basically one in the kitchen, one in the entrance to your study, and then the last one all the way in your master bedroom above your TV. We originally had 5 planned. I don't think it's necessary to do 5 of them because the footprint of your house, 3 should be able to cover it. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna sneak one of these guys in the closet, basically where we mount the equipment closet and everything. I'll have one more AP just kind of covering that little corner by the living room. But I think these 4 APs should be more than enough. And again, we don't want to do too many APs in the environment because then they'll kind of cancel each other out. And also we don't really have a true test case because the apartments around you are not active with Wi-Fi, so I can't really measure the traffic in a true sense. So I think let's start with these 4 and then see how our wireless behavior happens as we go live. But I think these 4 should be more than enough. So that's pretty much a quick snapshot of your network. Obviously, just from an ISP standpoint, you'll have Fios. So that will be your, I believe Fios has a gig and a 2 gig plan. So we'll get the max rated plan and that will feed the network. Then let's move on to Sonos. Basically, Sonos, we're really using 2 products. This is called the Sonos Port. This is basically creates a Sonos device on the app, and you can essentially have RCA out going to an amplifier, and you can amplify whatever type of speaker structure you have. Then you have a Sonos amp. This is basically a 2-channel amp rated at 55 by 2, and this amplifier has HDMI ARC out, so we can basically take a TV that has ARC, connect it to this, and then we get all volume control functions through Smart ARC, HD audio coming through here, and that's how we essentially marry them to a TV. So we're taking a TV, we're arcing to this, taking the 2 speakers out, and essentially connecting the 2 speakers. So when you go into Sonos, it automatically knows that it's getting signal from the TV. It will give you TV audio through the speakers, and then you obviously have the app where you can go in and kick that off and essentially do smart audio to those speakers. Just to kind of give you a setup. So here you can see right here, these guys right here on the bottom, that's a Sonos port, and the RCA is coming out, feeding straight to your amplifier. And then here on the bottom right here, this is your Sonos amp, and basically again you can see those 2 speaker ports where you can actually connect speakers, and you'll also see an HDMI port right there. So basically this right here is called a bus amp. This amplifier is what we're going to use for your house. Let me kind of show you here. So basically this is a 12-channel amp. All my ports go into this, and I port out 100 watts per channel to each speaker. So basically bus amp will be running with the ports, and then we have 2 amps, basically your master bedroom and your study, which are the only 2 bedrooms, 2 speaker scenarios. So that's pretty much the Sonos setup, straightforward. And then rolling onto your AV setup. So first thing I want to talk about is this Onkyo amp. So this is an 8K amp. It's obviously, we're going to be having it set up for 4K. This basically, the main reason I'm buying it is because it works with Sonos. So this amplifier has an RCA in where it senses when the RCA goes on, and basically switches to that channel automatically. You connect the Sonos port, and you can have auto turn on behavior. Traditionally, if you connect the Sonos port to a receiver, you would actually need to go to the, turn the receiver on, put it on the input, and then play your Sonos through the app, and you'll get audio, whereas this has that auto turn on feature. So this is huge with the Sonos port. This will give you the ability to do a true 9.1 Sonos audio zone in your living room. And then, like we said, when we'll have another port set up with those 4 speakers. So if you want to do just 4 speakers in conjunction with TV audio, you'll have kind of best of both worlds. So this is the amplifier. This is rated for 220 watts, but this is nowhere near as powerful as the Yamaha. The Yamaha has a much more powerful amp, and again, we're going to turn the gain down on this and basically run it for your 9 speakers. Then moving forward, this is the Apple TV. Again, this is just the standard Apple TV 4K, the newest one. And really all we're looking for is 4K HDR. So all your streaming and online stuff can be managed through this, and you have HDR availability. Then you basically have your remote. I have you set up for Logitech Harmony. This is basically a Harmony hub, Harmony remote. We program it, we have our activities, whatever your sources are, your scenarios are, and you essentially hit the touchscreen to do your activities. Unfortunately, Logitech has canceled this lineup, so they no longer make the Logitech Harmony Pro, and then they're also not supporting the cloud as far as new remote codes for the future. Whatever existing codes they have, I believe up till last year, the cloud is maintaining and running. Again, I think it's a very good remote. It's very simple. People are still using it. This remote typically retails for $350. Because Harmony canceled it, their prices have doubled now or skyrocketed. So this box right here, brand new, you can get almost $1,200 $1,000 on eBay. So the product is still not bad, but I just want to be clear with you. I don't, the manufacturer is not making it. So from an ongoing support standpoint, tomorrow if you upgrade, add new devices, we may have, compatibility issues. If you want to kind of avoid that situation, the next best remote I have that kind of solves your situation is the URC Total Control. This is really one step above the Harmony, really. This is the TRC 1480. Basically, it has the same touchscreen LCD, the same activity mentality as the Harmony, but in addition, this has push to talk. So this has Alexa built into it. So theoretically, you can turn around, hold it, and say, hey Alexa, take me to CNBC from your remote, and through that voice command, it can actually, take you to your favorite app or your favorite cable station, whatever it may be. So this is definitely a better product, and obviously, from a product standpoint or a manufacturer standpoint, this is still produced. This is brand new. They just came out with it. This is also the controller that this remote runs with, and as you can see, it's Ethernet with IR, and pretty much it manages this remote. So let me know either remote. I have both options available. Right now I have you set up for this, but I think this would be a little bit better bet because of the push to talk. Then pretty much from a TV standpoint, basically we're doing the Samsung Q90s. I'm obviously not going to open one of your TVs right now, but this is basically an 85 Q90, the same TV that we're doing for you. Pretty straightforward TV. Basically you have 255s and 165. I just want to show you how thin the TV is so you kind of get a sense of what this TV is about, but pretty much the same lineup, nothing special. All right, and the last thing I want to discuss is your Lutron switches and overall setup. So basically, from a Lutron standpoint, I just want to kind of show you the devices so you guys get a feel of what everything is. First thing is, this is the Lutron brain. So this is the controller that we essentially put in the closet. This is repeating the low frequency radio RF signal, and this is the boss of the Lutron network. Then basically we have this cloud controller. This is called the Lutron Bridge. Basically, this lets me connect to the app. This is the, essentially the smart medium for taking this RF system into the smart world. And then basically you choose your switches, right? So pretty much we have standard dimmer switches. So let me kind of open this one up. So here I have a standard on-off dimmer switch. It's pushed to go on and off. You have your toggle up and down. And again, this is smart, programmable, and pretty much straightforward. Then the next level up would be the multi-button switch. So here, as you can see, we have this multi-button switch. We can get engravings done, so you can, have different type of names. And then again, there's two types of switches where, let's say this switch would actually control a direct load where there's a light connected to the first button. And then there are also these that just you literally feed it power, and then all of these are just smart programmable buttons, and I can say, this is a scene, this is your light in your bedroom, and this is the shades. Any Lutron device, I can essentially create a scene and direct program. So all those multi-button switches that we're talking about, how many we need, and basically, what the counts are, this is the switch we're basically referring to. Then another switch here. So this is basically called a Lutron remote switch. Basically, this is like a dimming module, which is pretty much the same thing as this. The only difference is this gets connected to the light and is hidden in the ceiling, and you really only way to control it is either pressing these buttons, finding it in the ceiling, or smart control. So this is when you don't really want a physical location for the switch and you want to hide it, then this is that second level of switching. Then the next option is for lamps and stuff. So let's say you have a specific lamp, this will go into an outlet, plug into the lamp. Again, this is smart control, come on the RF, and you can essentially control the lamp. So basically this would be your three types of standard switching right here. Also, we can get this switch in an on-off scenario. So if you have like a bathroom fan, something non-dimmable, but you want it smart, we can also get that. And then these are really your multi-button controllers. And then the only other thing that we really need to understand is the picos. So these are called picos. We can essentially program this and marry them to a single switch like this. So those three-way scenarios where you have one light and you want three locations to control it. You can essentially do these Picos. They're fully battery operated. They don't need any wiring or nothing, and we can essentially wall mount them like this. So the finished product actually looks like a physical switch, but really it's not, like a proper switch. And these Picos can also be married to scenes. So if you want, a group of lights or shades, etc., to be done, you can also control these. They're also sold in the on-off format. This is a dimmable Pico. And then here's another example. This is called the Shade Pico. Again, if you want, when you walk into each room, you have a button specifically for the shades. You can essentially have a Pico like this specifically, or you can turn around and marry it to this, and then obviously you always have the app. So that's pretty much your setup for your Lutron system. Again, conceptually, you can just kind of get the idea of how this is set up. And, once we finalize the electrical plan with Bennett, then, we can kind of iron this out. And two quick last things. This is just a docking station for your iPad. So basically this is the iPort wall connection. This goes on your wall, flush mount, and basically we get an iPad mini that fits in this frame, and then basically just bring that and connects to the wall. So pretty straightforward and clean setup. Also, this is the doorbell I was suggesting that we mount outside your door. Basically, we can get a ring chime speaker, which is basically a small speaker that we mount in the house. So when somebody rings the doorbell, you'll have audible control. Also, doorbells the Ring products do link to Alexa products. I'll flash this on the screen right now, but Alexa makes this 15-inch wall mount tablet essentially, which has Alexa built into it, and it has video control where it has a camera on it, so you can use it as an intercom. And then when you have these Ring doorbells, when somebody rings it, you'll actually get the video display. But again, if you don't want to do that tablet level, this is always controllable with the app. But the most important thing it'll do is it'll give you a video feed when somebody enters your apartment. So this way you always have that availability for security. All right. So this is just an overview of all the materials that we're using. If you have any other questions, just feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.